been here now a couple of weeks, and she's settling in and just delightful, pleasant to work with, smart, and energetic. She's been to every single meeting that we've had on this, so I know how busy you are. And then we also have Dewey Hensley, who I think everyone knows. He is our Chief Academic Officer. And then also we have Suzanne Wright, and I know we all have been working with Suzanne Wright. She's, I think, talked to almost everybody in the room over the course of this week. And Susan is our Director of Curriculum Management. So I'm going to, I guess, begin with Dewey, if you want to begin us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for being here. This is an extremely important series of days that you're going to be involved in. It's not something brand new because many of you have already been engaged in the work of PLCs. But we're trying to shift our entire district to becoming a professional learning community where it's not an oddity, it's not an outlier when a group of teachers get together and talk about the data, look at individual students, problem solve together, plan together, create assessments together, assess together, implement together, analyze together, do all of those important educational, profound knowledge building types of activities inside schools. So that ultimately our goal really is about people. Our goal is to use the PLC process to build extremely strong teams inside of schools, to build extremely strong team members inside of teams, so that we're building capacity. We're making and helping teachers see their extreme significance. The most important things that happen in our school district happen inside classrooms. The most important interaction that happens every single day in our school district is between a teacher and a student. And our ability to cultivate and foster that, to make that the centerpiece, and build the strong, effective teachers and the strong, effective teams inside our schools, that carries our future. That's how Jefferson County is going to move forward in terms of academic achievement. That's how we're going to increase or meet the mission and the vision the board has for us, which is every student in Jefferson County Public Schools will graduate prepared. For us to meet that vision, that has to happen inside those most important interactions, which are between teachers and kids. So our work your work is so extremely significant, so important. Your ability to work with teachers inside schools and build their efficacy and build their skill set, put more tools on their tool belt, make them more confident, make them better teacher leaders, make them through modeling, through constructive criticism, through facilitation, enable and empower them to be able to talk around the table about the right stuff so they make the right informed decisions about student achievement is crucial. Now, what the DeFores offer and what a lot of other people, there are different kinds of PLCs. Not really. Generally, PLCs operate on the fact that teachers have regular times where they meet, where they dig, roll their sleeves up and dig deep into data. They look at groups of kids and, more importantly, individual students, and they construct plans where they collaborate to do something about that, to increase achievement for every child. So, that summarizes a PLC, whether you're using a DeFores model, capital letter PLC. They sort of coined the term all the way back in the book, The Common Ground, if you know that book. They kind of coined that, but even small letter PLCs are built on that same concept, that same notion of teachers coming together around achievement, around the needs of groups of kids and individual kids. So your ability to go into schools, to have one foot planted inside the culture of that school, and one foot planted slightly outside that culture, so you keep that perspective, is difficult work. But you're the right people to do it. You're the people we need that have that skill set, that have that content knowledge, that have the pedagogical skills. It's crucial that you're on that front line building those teachers so that ultimately all kids in Jefferson County graduate prepared. So I want to talk to you just a couple of minutes, actually let you talk some. I want to use a little Marzano strategy of similarities and differences, analogies really quick. I want to ask Karen to show you a video, but I want you to look at this video, and I've shown this to, some of you may have already seen it. Take just a minute, turn to an elbow partner, and talk about how this is a metaphor for PLCs. I mean, clearly what you see are a group of people using one instrument to play one song, working together. So talk about how you see in this the successes and the challenges, and metaphorically how this is like a PLC. I'll ask you to share out in just a minute. If your partner has a great insight, I want you to nominate. Who had some insights about that analogy, that similarity and differences between a PLC? Anyone have a good point? Nominate your partner. One at a time.
We just discussed the accountability for each person, each participant around that guitar, that everyone had some responsibility, and as Judy pointed out, that if one person failed, then that kind of broke that harmony. And
if the guy on the end with the beard didn't do his little part, it wouldn't be the same result, would it? The outcome of having a song wouldn't have occurred. Very good. Yes.
We were talking, and it was such teamwork because, like you said, Bree, if one person didn't do their part, it was going to fall apart. And at the same point, they were all confident in their ability to do their job. And, they each had that thing, and they took it really seriously. You could see that. So it's like they weren't worried what everybody else was doing because they had to worry about themselves, but yet it all came together really beautifully.
Yeah, excellent point. It came together. In order for it to come together, there had to be clear outcomes that were defined, right? Obviously, they couldn't all be playing different songs. In order for them to get the outcome that they wanted, they actually had to approach it, not each song, but each note, right? PLCs kind of need to approach it, not all kids, but each kid. And that shift, that shift in thinking enables you to get the outcomes you want because each of them played their note or part of the note or however that works. They did it because they had a common designed outcome. They all knew the song. They all agreed on what they were playing, what was going to occur, what the outcome would be, this finished product, this song. So they were aiming for that result. Very good. Yes?
One thing that we talked about was in order to get the outcome, the song, I'm sure they did a lot of practice, that they didn't just sit down and it happened, that it took time to get that good.
Excellent point. You think they just all said, hey, let's all play this guitar? And just said, oh yeah, let's do that. Go to Yay song, go. And it just happened. Of course not. As a matter of fact, in the video, they've removed the little part that saddens me a little bit because after it goes dark, you hear one of them say, I think we got it. And he says it just like that. They have worked on this. This wasn't something that started out perfect. As a matter of fact, the work actually began way before the song, I imagine. That they had protocols and had developed relationships so that they knew how they worked together. They each knew what they were about, what they could do. So they had built relationships for a while, I imagine, probably practicing other songs. They are a band where they don't always just play the guitar together. They play a lot of instruments and songs. So their relationship and the protocols of how they work together are probably pretty clearly defined because of the hard work, where they have said, we come together around music. We have come together to be a group of people whose sole concern is, when we're together, is music.
Dewey also reminded me of the continuous improvement because it's that practice. So one reason they may have taken that out, I think we got it, is because they haven't. So they're leaving it open to add to that.
That's exactly, very excellent point. Excellent point. I mean, they're probably going to continue working on that, and they need more than one song, right? So they're going to continue working on perfecting what they do. It's not just some set. They've got this song. They've got this unit done, but it's a continuous improvement. How can they do the next song better? Yes.
They also changed our expected outcome of a guitar. We expect a guitar to be played by one person to sound a certain way, and by working together on that one instrument, the five of them have changed the outcome of what that guitar can do.
Excellent. Wow, I hadn't even thought of it in that, but that is brilliant. That's wonderful. Have you ever seen that happen before? I don't know. I have never seen 5 people play a guitar together. If you had told me that 5 people, hey, there's this great song, popular song that 5 people play on it, I'd say, right, I got to see that. Because I'm not sure I would have believed that. And what PLCs do, in my experience, in working in schools is just that. Because teachers began to collaborate, it's no longer one person's burden, or you're not on an island by yourself working with your kids. You're working and sharing ideas, and you're getting better strategies, and you're, most importantly for teachers, is they're conversing about the work, which too often in the past doesn't occur. I mean, I taught high school English for 9 years, or actually 11 years, and I can't remember times where I had really super meaningful conversations with colleagues around the data and around the work. Now, we might have a certain project we're doing together, a field trip or something like that, where we had to collaborate. We all liked each other, but in truth, we didn't have those meaningful dialogues about all of us helping each other improve achievement. And that's what this does. And when you have that dialogue, you get better. And when you get better as a teacher, you get better outcomes for kids. And when you measure those outcomes, you begin to recognize that you're getting better. You're recognizing which strategies work. And pretty soon, that which once seemed impossible becomes possible. And that's powerful. And that's an excellent, excellent point.
It's okay.
All right, anybody else? Yeah.
One thing I thought of in watching that video was that they had to jump in at some point in time. I'm sure they had to prepare, they had to discuss, they had to maybe do their background work, but at some point in time they had to just jump in, get on the guitar, and start doing it. And I think that's a great analogy for PLC work. We can study it, we can read, research, and prepare. We can do all of that, but at some point we have to get teachers into the process and just start doing it. It's not going to be perfect the first time we do it. It's going to get better and better as we continue on this cycle. But just like learning by doing says, we have to start doing it, and that's how we'll learn.
Who do you, excellent point. Let me ask you this question really quickly. What do they have to give up? What do you have to give up to be a part of that band and that song? What do you give up? Some autonomy, yeah. You're accountable to other people. In other words, you have accountability. You can't be playing somewhere over the rainbow while everybody else is playing a different song. So you've got to give some of that up. What else? What else?
Your perception of what your role might be.
Who's the leader of that band?
Shared leadership.
Shared.
The odd thing is there is a leader of that band. The most popular person is the blonde Sarah Blackwood. She's kind of the founder of Walk Off the Earth with the other guy, the second singer. They're kind of the two that started these really creative things. And out of all of them, she's the most popular. She's the one that I think has a record deal or something like that. But you didn't know that, did you? She could have argued, I guess, I'm the star, I'll do all the singing, you all play the guitar. She didn't do that. As a matter of fact, she puts herself in that as the third singer or whenever she kind of chimes in, and she plays her part. So, in some ways, you give up some things when you're in a PLC. In other ways, your skill set is heightened. What you're good at your team suddenly begins to see. I mean, they looked at the voices, each of their voices, right? And they tried to choose the person to sing the part that best fit their voice. So they maximize the strengths of the individual members, but all under the umbrella, all under the context of playing each note to get the outcome that they want, which is a perfect song, let's say. Yes?
I was going to say, and that you just sort of built upon this point, that this becomes somewhat about finding people's strengths, not just addressing their weaknesses or their gaps. And so being able to do that and play to those strengths, then collectively combining those strengths, you can come up with a greater outcome than any one person could on their own. But it is a little bit different. We've been in a long time mode of mostly addressing deficits, looking for problems. Not that we won't still do some of that, but the point is that we've got to start trying to find people's strengths, especially with kids. We have to find their strengths, their potentials, not just address their gaps or deficits in a couple of areas.
I agree with that. And what the conversation enables you to do is to identify both of those. I mean, when you have conversations and you've actually put the data on the table, you can begin to have that tolerance for truth. You can see where you're strong. You can see where there are deficits. You can address those with a team effort as opposed to it being kind of veiled and mythological. You know, about this is really the problem. This is really the problem. So when you have this mythological root cause, you don't address what you can really control. And kids from poverty have already faced, always, or for a long time, faced that. That there was the mythology they couldn't learn. There was the mythology that their baggage was so heavy they couldn't get through the front door of education. And we know that not to be true. There are so many examples around America where the exact opposite is happening. Where schools are making, and teachers in particular, are making not a difference, but the difference for school-dependent children. Children whose lives and futures depend on education and depend on us. So our ability to have the conversation that Alan is having about strengths and weaknesses in honest, real ways with a tolerance for truth is powerful. Because once we know, it's my belief that once teachers know something, once they have the right information, once they have the right conversations, they make a big difference in the lives of kids. I think that's how powerful our profession is. I think that's what we're about. And PLCs serve as kind of the headquarters in a school around a group of kids where we have those conversations, that tolerance for truth, that shared, that professionalism, where people get the opportunity to be clear, to have goal clarity, clear on what the goals are, clear on what needs to happen for kids, clear on what the intent is of what we want to have happen for students. And when you operate with that beginning presupposition of the possibilities for each child, I tend to work harder. I tend to be more focused. And when I get results, I tend to attribute them and own them. To say, dang, my work did this. And there's nothing more satisfying. There's nothing that retains teachers, that builds people's confidence and turns people into leaders than knowing they made the difference. And PLCs enable teachers to feel that way. To have conversations with their colleagues where they recognize what worked and what role they played in making that work. And then they get to take ownership of it. And when they take ownership of it, teachers are so powerful. So powerful in the lives of kids because of that. Okay, everybody, I probably should let you get going. It's 8:36. I'm 6 minutes over, which for me, if you know how I talk, that's pretty good. It's not bad. So I just want to, again, eat this stuff up. figure out how we can follow the footprints from this room and the other rooms in Gaines all the way back to a school, all the way into a classroom, all the way where the footprints are seen all over the walls and the work of teachers, where we see groups of teachers working together, practicing and using the things that you've learned here over these 3 days, and it makes it to the desk of the student. If it doesn't make it to the desk of the students, we're wasting taxpayer money. So thank you, everybody. Keep doing the good work.
If you look now at the agenda, it says overview of our work for 3 days. And just a little bit of background of why we're doing this differently. The first day is really building your collective knowledge. And the second day is the toolkit. I know you all know that we started out with having everybody participate in session 1 of the video series, the Learning by Doing, looking at the big ideas of PLC. And what happened is the directors were also looking at the next sessions in preparation, and it looked like that we really felt like you all needed more content and more solid background information. So the video series that we will be presenting to schools is more of an overview or an awareness level. And we really felt that you all needed more than that in order to facilitate that learning. So that's why the change in the manner that we are doing it. So this first day, when you go into the sessions, it really will not be just about that video series for that piece of the PLC, but it will also be looking at the book, Learning by Doing. We'll have some information in there that was gained from the 2 days of professional development, and then also from the video series. So that on Monday when you return, that's when you'll begin to put the pieces together. What you've learned today, in addition to digging into that kit that has all the sessions, all 4 sessions in it. The first session was the basic overview, and then the second session was the focus on learning, and the third one was collaborative cultures, and then that fourth one was on results. So the sessions are still scattered, or still developed like that today, but there'll be more content in them than just the scripted video series. Also, there's a resource teacher guidelines in your handout. Please be sure to read that. Team structure. For those of you who have agreed to provide the professional development for schools, I think you all know that you'll be doing it in teams of 2, so it's not like one person has to be responsible. We're also hoping that once you know who your school is, if the principal isn't taking the leadership and wants you to facilitate, that you will consider that, because I think that will bring you closer to your learning community in that school. We do know that we have many schools where the principal has said they wanted to take the lead and they were going to provide that professional development for their teachers. And so, but we do have some schools that are scheduled to have RTs facilitate the learning.